judge is ready.
And the timer as well? At least begin. The bones of the last mammoth have long ago decayed, and the tempests no longer devour our navies. But we are engaged in a bitter and eternal war with small things. The stud with which I was engaged on fierce and equal terms was one I was trying to introduce into my shirt collar, when a loud knock came at the door. My first thought was as to whether Basil Grant had called to fetch me. He and I were to turn up at the same dinner party together. It was a small and confidential affair, at the table of a good but unconventional political lady, an old friend of his. We were to meet a third guest, a Captain Fraser, who is an authority on chimpanzees. But as a fact, it was not Basil. I was handed a visiting card inscribed Reverend Ellis Shorter, and underneath was written in pencil, requesting the favor of a few moments' conversation on a most urgent matter.
Journey with us as we explore the mystical, wild, and faraway land of
England.
We will encounter romance, danger, intrigue, and the legendary lives of
Two elderly gentlemen, Charlie Swinburne,
a shrewd, perceptive, investigator extraordinaire, and
our main character,
is visited by Reverend Ellis Shorter, a victim of a most heinous, despicable crime, being kidnapped
by women,
This Reverend Shorter
with painstaking perfection,
detained Mr. Swinburne from his previous engagements with the telling of a most extraordinary tale.
in the book
The Club of Queer Trades, written by G.K. Chesterton.
The Reverend was a bald-browed, white-haired, white-whiskered old clergyman of a flappy and floppy type.
I'm so very sorry. I'm so extremely sorry. I can almost say that I come upon an important matter. Pray forgive me. What I have to say is so dreadful. It is so dreadful.
I was burning to get away, for it was doubtful already if I should be in time for dinner. Pray go on.
As vicar of Chauncey in Essex, I have never been forcibly dressed up as an old woman. Never once. My experience may be small, it may be insufficient, but it has never occurred to me before.
Excuse me if I perhaps failed to follow you correctly. Dressed up as what?
As an old woman.
I thought in my heart it required no great transformation. May I ask how it occurred?
I will begin at the beginning, and I will tell my story with the utmost possible precision. At 17 minutes past 11 this morning, I left the vicarage to pay certain visits in the village. I dropped in upon a meeting at the house of Miss Brett. When I arrived, there were maiden ladies with Miss Brett, but they were sewing very busily. After about 10 minutes of conversation, I rose to go, and as I did so, I heard something which I cannot describe it. Something which seemed to, but I really can't describe it.
What did you hear?
I heard Miss Mowbray say to Miss James the following words: "Now's your time, Bill." This seemed to me extraordinary. I could not by any means understand it. It seemed to me, first of all, peculiar that one maiden lady should address another maiden lady as Bill. My experience, as I have said, may be incomplete. Maiden ladies may have among themselves wilder customs than I'm aware of. I'm sorry to disturb you, Miss James, but I really must be going. I have, chocolate fun.
Put his old head in the bag, Sam, and tie him up before you start jawing.
My head went round and round. Was it really true, as I had suddenly fancied a moment before, that unmarried ladies have some dreadful riotous society of their own, from which all others were excluded? Miss Mowbray threw her arm around me from behind. The moment it held me, I knew it was not a woman's arm. He had me in a ring of iron. Miss Brett, or what I had called Miss Brett, was standing in front of me with a big revolver in her hand and a broad grin on her face. She was a man. No, she was a woman. No, I saw that instead of being a woman, it was a man. It was all clear at last. They were criminals dressed up as women to kidnap me. But why? What am I to do?
That's easy, Your Holiness. You gotta put on those gloves.
And he pointed to a heap of female clothes in the corner. I will not dwell upon the details of what followed. In 5 minutes, sir, the victor of Chauncey was dressed up as an old woman and dragged out into the street. My brain was whirling like a windmill as I walked, trying to think of some means of escape. To cry out would be suicidal. To attempt to stop strangers and explain the situation was impossible. Had it come to this? That the vicar of Chauncey should pretend to be mad? It had come to this. Hurrah! Hurrah! Rule Britannica! The constable instantly flashed his lantern on me.
Now then, Mum. Come along quietly or I'll eat your heart. If you can't get your friend on quiet, ladies, I shall have to take her up.
I redoubled my efforts. I had not been brought up to this sort of thing, but I believe I eclipsed myself. Words that I did not even know I had ever heard of came pouring out of my open mouth.
You come along with me.
Oh, pray, Constable. Oh, pray, Constable. Don't make a disturbance with our poor friend. We will get her quietly home.
Oh, she bit me in the stomach.
Pray, let me take her home. She wants looking after.
But I'll look after her. Look here, ladies. I don't like the eccentricity of your friend. I don't like her sons or her head in my stomach. And now I come to think of it, I don't like the looks of you. Who are you? We've not got our cards with us. Nor do you see why we should stand here and be insulted by any jack-in-office who chooses to be rude to ladies when he is paid to protect them. If you choose to take advantage of the weakness of our unfortunate friend, no doubt you are legally entitled to take her. But if you fancy you have any legal right to bully us, you will find yourself in the wrong box.
I lurched up, the policeman half lifting me. I suddenly broke from his hand and tore down the street like a maddened stag. I ran and ran and ran. I tore off my accursed shawl and bonnet and buried them. Now what is to be done?
I took out my watch. It was already 12:30. My friend, Basil Grant, is the best man we can go to. He and I were to have turned up at the same dinner party tonight. A rattle and a hansom brought us to the somber pile of workmen's flats, which Basil Grant inhabited. Basil Grant listened to the repetition of the story of Reverend Ellis Shorter. When it was over, he said simply,
Then our course is clear. The first thing for us to do is to go to see Captain Fraser.
I was startled at this totally irrelevant reference to the worthy collector of chimpanzees.
No, I don't think that is necessary. Oh, you don't think that is necessary? Well then, Mr. Ellis Shorter, I would like to see you without your whiskers. Give me your whiskers.
Reverend Ellis Shorter was by no means behaving as I had previously noticed him to behave. He did not seem so much astonished as I had thought.
But I want your whiskers. Do they belong to Captain Fraser? No, we provide them ourselves. They don't belong to Captain Fraser.
What the deuce does Captain Fraser have to do with the affair? What's the matter with him? You dined with him, Basil?
No, I didn't. The fact is, I was detained by a visitor.
Basil, if you are my friend, save me. What is all this?
Just another addition to your collection of queer trades. These two gentlemen are professional detainers. It's really very simple, Mr. Swinburne.
Began he who had once been Reverend Ellis Shorter.
We are paid by our clients to detain in conversation those who they want out of the way for a few hours. And Captain Fraser, the fact is, Captain Fraser wanted us both out of the way very much. He's sailing tonight for East Africa, and the lady with whom we were to have dined with is the romance of his life. He wanted those 2 hours with her and employed these two reverend gentlemen to detain us at her houses so as to let him have the field to himself. It's wonderful how common it's getting, gentlemen. Our office is busy from morning till night. I've no doubt you've knocked up against us before. You just take notice.
When an old bachelor goes boring you on with hunting stories, when you're burning to be introduced to somebody.
He's from our bureau. Thank you so much for judging. Thank you for judging, ma'am.
Thank you for judging.
Thank you for judging. Appreciate it.
Thanks for judging.
And thank you so much for timing.
Thank you so much.